Alright, listen up. We are going to go out there, and we're all going to unite, and we're all going to watch that movie. We're all going to go to that theater and have an excellent time. Now, will we enjoy Avengers Age of Ultron? I don't know. Will we have a great time? I have no idea. But I can tell you this. Most likely, we will enjoy it. We will have fun. We will be a great team. And I can promise you all this. We are all going to come back home safely. Now, who's with me? Yeah! And you, welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we check out every single fandom that is not pony related. Why? Because Avengers exist. If nothing else, Avengers exist. And that is what we're here today, folks. Yes, we are going to explore some awesome comic book fanfics. Namely, a fanfic that shows that there's probably a crossover out there that will not exist unless it was for fanfics. So join us as we here at the Treeberry Memorial Library and proud to present of Guardians of Turtles by LeoFan221. Enjoy. Of Guardians of Turtles by LeoFan221. Splinter reached hesitantly around for his phone, hating for himself what he had to do now. But there was no other way. It had to be done. He loved his sons too much to keep them with him, where they would be surely destroyed much sooner than Splinter would allow. And so, here he was, calling in one last favor from an old friend. Even after he had been mutated, Nicholas Furious's contact information appeared on the screen. Splinter pressed talk. After 4 rings, the man picked up.
Hello? Fury here.
Hello, old friend. Listen, He was cut off as Fury recognized who was calling him at this ungodly hour of 4:30 in the morning.
Yoshi? Is that you?
Yes. Now, I have a last favor to ask of you, he said, not being able to keep the heaviness out of his voice.
What kind of favor, Yoshi?
Fury asked, understandably wary. Splinter would be too, if an old friend called him in the wee hours of the morning, and asked a large favor. An old enemy of mine has discovered my whereabouts, much sooner than I would have anticipated, and I know you normally don't do this, but would you watch over my sons? I can't bear to lose them. No matter what happens to me, they must live on. Peace, Fury. I have no other options. A gasp from the other end. Again, understandable. Splinter could just see Fury rubbing the bridge of his nose as he sat. Maybe at a table, maybe in bed. It was impossible to tell.
Of course, Yoshi. But you do realize you can send a team in after this man. Take care of him for you. Or I can lead that team to your location for protection.
Despite everything that was about to happen, Splinter smiles. He had known Fury would put out the request, but those words fell on deaf ears. He considered, and no, Splinter didn't need anyone to protect him, for his vows for him. So, as politely as possible, he declined Fury's kind offer.
You sure, Yoshi?
Yes, I'm sure. Thanks for the generous offer, though, Splinter responded, still smiling. It dropped, however, when he asked where he should drop off his kids.
Oh, the apartment building at 1st and 4th will be fine. I have agents in New York City. I'll give them a call and have them pick them up. I appreciate the sacrifice you're making. One more thing. They'll need to be separated. Do you understand?
Of course he understood. For their safety, they wouldn't know each other until the time was right. It was the only way. Yes, just make sure that they find each other when the time is right, please, he asked. Final request. It was the best he could do for them. Now.
Until we meet again, Yoshi,
Fury said. Splinter choked back sobs, blinked back tears, and wiped his face before responding. Until we meet again, Fury. Without another word, the call was terminated. Quickly securing the ambulance he had prepared with their names on them, in the colors that Yoshi thought would suit each of them, around their tiny necks, he held them close for a few moments before picking up Leonardo and Raphael and placing them on his shoulders. Donatello and Michelangelo went onto his hips. I know this is supposed to be a sad and emotional moment, but all I can think of is just how is a rat capable of holding 2 turtles onto his hips? I mean, unless he's got a nice bassinet with them, that's a nice little image. He left the lair and walked through the sewer system, wanting to make most of his limited time with them as he walked unhurriedly. He only emerged across the street when he arrived at the right place for the drop-off. He was in here in time to meet Fury's agent at his designated spot. He brought his sons down from his shoulders and hugged them for the last time, tears running down his face. The children were sleeping, and it only took a few lullabies to get their eyes to droop. Finally, closed in sleep. Splatter reluctantly broke free of his contact and rose to his sinking knees, to unsteady legs. His hand slowly reached his hakama and drew out the note, reviewing it swiftly before placing it between two of his sons. To whom it may concern, please do not be alarmed by my son's appearance. They are very kind and gentle souls. Please take care of them as best as you can. If Fury decided to pair you with one or more of them, I know you wouldn't normally do something like this, and I cannot express my gratitude for your possible assistance in this matter to justify my feelings. I think it would be wise to train them in the warrior's way. However, I will leave that decision up to Fury. I know you will help my sons become good and honest boys, and hopefully men one day, if fate throws one of your sons your way. Hamato Spenta. Satisfied, he hesitantly reached for the door. With a swift, firm knock, he was gone, and back to the tunnels he knew so well, after watching his sons being drawn to the apartment building by gloved hands. His heart broke as he heard the soft moaning that came from each of his sons as they were drawn into the dark home. He was so distracted with thoughts of his sons and what would happen to them that he never noticed the dark-suited man creeping along behind him, leg out, reaching for him, until he tripped and fell to the floor. Ending to fall on a roll, he saw the shadow figure. Where is the kami, rat? He hissed, voice deep and laden with menace. Splinter smiled. Do you honestly think I would tell you anything? No, just checking, the man replied, and Splinter suddenly felt a sharp pain in between his shoulder blades. He collapsed to the floor, the life already nearly departed from his body. Through the red mist of death, Splinter saw his murderer deep from the shadows, and activated a communicator on his wrist. However, Splinter was dead before he could hear what was said. The rat has been taken care of, master, he said, sounding genuinely pleased with himself. And what of the kami? An equally sinister and evil voice came from the other end of the line. Unnoticed yet, master. The rat wouldn't tell me anything. Well, no matter. They won't last long without someone to take care of them anyway. The second man replied, sounding genuinely amused at the presumed fate of the four eternal mutants, and he wouldn't be seeing them for 15 years. Thanks for spoiling it, Ryder! Natasha Romanoff wasn't expecting to find 4 baby turtles outside the drop point. He had quickly drawn them inside, 2 at a time, before anyone saw anything. She smiled despite herself as she looked down, all asleep. A few of them were sucking their thumb, and they all snuggled against her chest. She paused slightly, not used to having something or someone so affected to her. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, and she sent it to her headset, so she could still hold the 4 baby terrapins and talk to whoever was calling. Yes, she said. Her usual response when she picked up. Fury wants a status report on the pickup, Agent Romanoff. Agent Phil Coulson said, not sounding annoyed, which meant he was. Pickup successful, Coulson, she said, not one to miss words. Good, bring him in. We need to get to work on dispersal. Natasha rolled her eyes. Count on Coulson to treat the fate of 4 little guys just like our regular drop-off packages. Glad to see you're so concerned about these 4 little guys, Natasha said, not wanting to soil surprise. Not yet. Just return to base, and we'll figure it out from there. With that, Coulson hung up. Natasha entered the call on her end too, trying to get off the couch without waking the 4 little guys in her lap. One by one, she laid them out on the couch. None of them woke up, thankfully. She found a box big enough to transport the 4 little guys out to the car at least. Carefully laying them on the inside, bracing herself, she picked it up. Coulson didn't exactly approve of taking in 4 more little kids, much less having to raise them. He patiently waited for Natasha to arrive with the Sons of Fury's friend. Just because he was going along with it doesn't mean he had to like it. After about 15 minutes, the car pulled to the base, and Natasha Romanoff emerged from the vehicle, going to the second door. She opened and reached in, drew out a cardboard box. Coulson could hear her grunt and exertion as he came closer. Coulson motioned for an agent to assist Natasha, but she merely held onto the box tighter. She walked inside, dumped the box as gently as possible onto the couch. She then stretched her sore arms and sat down next to the box. Coulson came over and stood next to Natasha. Rough time? He asked, smirking. Romanoff sent him a death glare before speaking through her pants. You don't know the half of it, she growled. You have no idea how heavy these guys are. Paragraph? She said, mostly toward the box. Coulson moved closer to it and reached out to open it.
Just to warn you, they're not normal, Natasha said, now over her pants. Coulson raised an eyebrow, but didn't make any further comment on it as he eased the blanket surrounding the four bodies back. His breath caught the sight behind him. Are you sure these are the right kids? Coulson asked, momentarily losing his composure. Yep, they were at the right place at the right time. These are Hamoto Yoshi's sons, Natasha said, eyes closed as she relaxed on the couch. She handed him a note, and Coulson quickly read it before looking at the box. Coulson smiled that small trademark smile of his as he gazed down on their sleeping forms. They were all wearing amulets of different color. One blue, red, purple, orange. Blue seemed to be trying to envelop all the brothers in his arms, and orange was apparently returning the embrace. Purple and red were sucking their thumbs. It was adorable. I agree. Coulson wished his phone had a camera. This was a great photo op. He found himself wanting to hold him. Before he could guess himself why or what he was doing, he suddenly scooped up one wearing the orange amulet. He was the smallest of the four turtles, and Coulson shook his head at himself and chuckled as he rocked the little thing back and forth smoothly. He seemed so happy in Coulson's arms, probably because Orange thought that Coulson was his father. Michelangelo was carved beautifully into the wood. He leaned over, careful not to disturb anyone, and checked all the amulets on a hunch. Raphael was under the red amulet. Purple was Donatello, and blue Leonardo. So, now the four had names. All they needed was caretakers, parents. Secretly, of course, Fury would probably charge the Avengers with these little guys. But that wouldn't stop Coulson from putting in a request to at least be close to this little one. Michelangelo, like the Renaissance artist. Come to think of it, all the names were Renaissance artists. Funny. That was a bit of an odd thing to pick. What was Coulson had judged Yoshi on what he named his sons? He wondered what Yoshi had named them that night, and when he carved the names of the amulets. No, he decided. It required too much thought to have been done in the spur of a moment. He motioned an agent to follow over him with the box, carefully putting Michelangelo back into the box. He tapped on the door to Fury's office not 3 minutes later.
Enter,
Came Director Fury's voice from the other side of the door. Coulson entered, followed closely by the agent carrying the box containing the turtles. We got them, sir. Romanoff picked him off at the drop point without a hitch. Coulson reported as he entered. Leaving the other agent to put the docs down and awkwardly back out of the room.
Good. Wait.
Why are they in the box? Fury asked, lifted the lid. He straightened it out a few seconds. His version of looking startled. Coulson handed him this note, and quickly read. Fury nodded when he was done reading.
Good. Now we've got a lot of work to do.
Chapter 2. The Drop-Off. Part 1. Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America, wasn't expecting a knock on the door at 7 in the morning. To start the list of things he didn't expect today. Second, he didn't expect his superior officer, Director Fury, to be standing in a doorway, in the middle of a thunderstorm, rubbing the sleep from his eyes since he had just woken up. He opened the door more, and he invited Fury to inside. To what do I owe this honor, Director? He asked, as Fury stepped inside, clutching something big inside his coat. Fury's coat was zipped up all the way, so Steve couldn't see what it was.
Thanks. Nasty weather this morning.
Yeah. What brings you here, Fury? New assignment?
In a way, Captain,
Fury said, moving over to the couch and unzipping his coat. He had his back to Rogers, so he couldn't see what was inside. What kind of assignment?
Come over here and see,
Fury replied, now leaning over the front of the couch and standing up again. Steve hesitantly stepped closer to the couch, looking over Fury's shoulder with a secret curiosity. Steve gasped at what he saw there, sleeping on his couch, visiting vividly. It was a humanoid young turtle, no older than 2, wearing a blue-out amulet. You know, I had money on Leo joining up with Cap. How is that my assignment? Steve asked, gesturing towards the tile on the couch.
He doesn't have a father. I was kind of hoping you would fill in for that persistent, my friend, Yoshi.
Who's Yoshi? Rogers asked, eyebrow raised quizzically.
An old buddy of mine. This guy's father. Presumed dead, Fury replied.
What led you to that presumption? Steve asked, squatting down next to Fury, eyes never leaving the turtle child.
Called me at 4:30, asking for a favor. Needed me to take care of his son,
Fury said, not wanting Steve to worry about all 4.
He told me that one of his enemies had resurfaced, and he was desperate to keep them alive, no matter what happened to him. He even refused a protection squad. I arranged the drop-off of one of my agents, and they brought him in,
Fury said, face showing no hint that he was lying. Steve looked pensive. Why me? Why not one of your agents?
Yoshi asked that he be trained to fight, and you're the best fighter I know, and the most honorable.
I believe Yossi would want his boy to be raised honorably. And, well, you up for the challenge, Captain?
Heck yes, Director! Steve replied, now holding the boy that he would call his son.
One more thing. Keep him a secret, no matter what, until further notice,
He said as he left the small apartment. You got it, Fury, Steve replied, but Fury was already gone. He looked at Leonardo, who was looking around curiosity. New bow! The boy suddenly cried, giggling and reaching for Steve's face. What the heck? You can talk! Wait, who's that? Mia! The child repeated, pointing at himself. He resumed looking at the apartment, rubbing his eyes sleepily. He looked at Steve, eyes filled with curiosity. Daddy, where's Raffy Bo? Steve started being called Daddy, but quickly regained his composure. Who's Raffy Bo? He asked the child, but received no response. The child had already fallen asleep. You want me to do what? Tony yelled at Phil Coulson, standing alive outside Stark Tower. The turtle that Coulson had asked Tony to be the caretaker of was playing with the high-tech tools and equipment that all were Tilder's toys. He cooed happily as he teased on to handle the screwdriver. Raise Donatello here. No way. There's no room for a kid here. Tony protested to deaf ears. Coulson was resolute. Then what about Malibu? Nice big house, plenty of extra space. Take it up by Pepper, Coulson. So freak out as he sees him, and you know that. Tony, if he survives an alien armada attack, I think this is gonna be easy. Maybe, but think about it this way. If you don't watch him, he'll die, Coulson said, bringing up cold facts to make a case. Tony smirked and wagged his finger approvingly at the agent. I think I know when I'm being guilt-tripped. No way, Jose, ever! I'm not guilt-tripping to you, Tony. Merely pointing out the fact. Donatello's father is most likely dead, so he has no one to care for him, Coulson stated. Tony blinked. How can you be so sure? He asked, trying not to appear like his arm was cracking. Falling apart, actually. His name is, or was, Hamato Yoshi, a Japanese immigrant. Old friend of Director Fury. Last night he called in a favor. He asked that we care for his son here, because an enemy of his has resurfaced faster than Yoshi could have predicted. He hasn't been heard of since he dropped off Donatello at a conspicuous location, Coulson said, voice even, as if giving a report. Tony's arms crossed, playing up a tough guy attitude. I'm not a masochist, Coulson. I will not take on a kid, ever, unless it's mine. Tony, Coulson sighed, not certain how to respond to that. Tony rolled his eyes. I don't know why you are still trying to get me to play daddy to him. I'm not going to do it, he said, pointing a thumb at Donatello's general direction. Because he needs a father in his life to replace the one he lost, Coulson states. A simple, undeniable, irrefutable fact. One that inwardly staggered Tony's resolve to not go through with this. Yeah, maybe. But how do you know that I'm the right guy for the job? Well, he shows signs of intelligence, even at his early age, and we think that you would be perfect to help nurture that intelligence. We need you to do this, Tony, as well as keep him a secret, for his safety. And yours, Coulson said, once his Donatello pulled on a left coat, causing himself to get tangled up in it. He struggled with the large, at least to him, piece of fabric. Tony rolled up his eyes and smiled as he went over to help the little guy out of his coat. Coulson smirked as he turned silently and started down the tower. Tony picked the turtle up and turned to fervently acknowledge his defeat at the hands of a child's infamous giggle and innocence, only to find that Coulson was no longer there. Foul play, Coulson! Foul play! He called. But Coulson couldn't hear him. He turned back to his new son in his arms. Well, since you're evidently going to stay here, you need a nickname. Rest assured that if you get in trouble, I will still call you by your full name. Now, let's see. How about Donnie? He asked, holding his child at arm's reach. The child squirted and giggled, well, like a child. Donnie! He cried, taking Tony aback. What did you say? Donnie Bell! The child replied, still giggling helplessly. And who am I? Tony asked, knowing what he'd probably say. Daddy! Donnie said, looking around. Where's Mikey Bell? He asked, looking back at Tony. Who? Tony asked, having to sit down. This kid's really intelligent. Like him already. That doesn't make this any weirder, though. Where's Mikey Bell? He repeated, receiving no response. The child was back to playing with the lab coat. Coulson, now driving towards HQ, pulled his phone out and dialed a number. It rang a moment before Director's Fury failed his ear.
Tell me you going to do it,
he said, not wanting to take no for an answer. Oh no, I got to do it. Walked out when he was distracted. Coulson reported, smirk as ever, not betraying the genuine amusement he felt in Tony's face when he saw that Phil had just walked out there. Well, he imagined what his face would look like. 2 more to go. Raphael and Michelangelo. Coulson, fearing knowing that was the signal that this conversation was over. Yes, sir. Be driving there as soon as possible. Coulson said, voice still and even calm. He ended the call and returned the phone to his rifle placed in his jacket, and turned his attention back to driving. Chapter 3. So, let me get this straight. You need me to watch over a kid with anger issues. With the other guy still around? You really didn't think this through, did you? Bruce Banner asked, shaking his head incredulously at the request brought before him. He had been asked by Agent Coulson to take care of a turtle kid wearing a red amulet. The calm male agent smiled and tilted his head amused. Well, Fury did. He needs you on this, Bruce, he said, holding the child. Raphael was asleep, snuggling against her chest. Oh, it's Natasha. Is it Natasha or... Oh, yeah, it is Phil. Phil. You know, I do hate it when a fic has a bad spelling mistake like this. It does throw off the pace. Raphael was asleep, snuggling against Phil Coulson, who changed to a woman for a few minutes. It was a small apartment here in California, but it had everything Barry needed. He rubbed the bridge of his nose, still trying to process the idea of him caring for a kid who also had angerman issues. Why me? The other guy will kill him when he gets older. You know that, right? He asked, eyes still closed, hands still squeezing his nose. Coulson sighed and slightly shifted the child's arms. Bruce sighed, finally mostly for the agent to put the child down on the couch. Phil did, trying not to look so relieved to have finally be able to put Raph down. So, does this mean you'll do it? He asked. It means I'd like to, if you'll answer some of my questions. Bruce retorted. Like what? Phil asked, leaning against the pole. Like what's his name? I can't just keep calling him it, kid, or him all his life. His name's Raphael. We have reason to believe that his father's dead. So we need you to fill that position, Coulson said. Why me? This kid, according to you, has anger issues, and I have larger anger issues, Bruce told him, tilting his head slightly when he mentioned his other, more violent side. Coulson smirked. Well, you have learned to moderate your anger. We thought that you would be able to help Raphael with his anger. Please, Bruce, we need you to do this. The agent said, finally. He took a step forward and shook the middle-aged man's preferred hand. I'll do it. Of course, he said, shrugging slightly, as if that had been his decision all along, and Down was just revealing it. Coulson smiled as she turned to go. And, Coulson, if you would mind, pick a gender and stick with it. It's getting awfully confusing. Well, that concludes my business here, I guess. So, I'll my way. He said, well, until then, sir. Bruce replied, turning, but Phil had already left. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number.
Well,
he'll do it.
Good. And I already know who's going to look over Michelangelo.
Agent Romanoff walked warily into Fury's office. He had been leaning against the desk, relaxed, calm poster and nodding the crap out of the confused agent. She stood at attention and waited for Fury to speak, as she learned a long time ago.
Hey, soldier,
she responded immediately.
You've been instrumental in finding good homes for Yossi's kids.
A statement, not an order, question, request, just a plain observation. Yes, sir, she replied, knowing it wasn't a question, but having learned the right response over the years.
Now, I know you normally don't do this, but I need you and Barton to watch Michelangelo.
Natasha was dumbfounded. Fury expected her and Barton to raise a child together. She licked her lips, blinked a few times, and nodded slightly, acknowledging that she had heard him. Sir, if I may, write us. What makes us so different from the other agents?
Well, Yossi told me that a lot about his sons in spare times. Leonardo's a natural leader, Raphael's a born warrior, Donatello's an extraordinary scientist, and Michelangelo's a gifted joker. I think you two would be a good influence on him as he grows up. You think Clint is up to it?
Romanoff smiled. Yes, I do think he would rather enjoy raising a child.
With you.
Fury commented, smirking deviously. Natasha blushed, not sure how to respond to that. She looked down on the floor. Fury nodded towards the door, excusing the embarrassment. Natasha exited the smallish office, to find Clint anxiously waiting outside, holding their new son. Hey, Nat, how's it going? Natasha smiled and took Mikey. Good late, actually. We are parents to this guy now, she said, causing Clint to fist bump his hair. Yes! That's great! Wait, together? You and me? I thought we were giving him up to single people.
Yeah, normally.
But this island has certain eccentricities. He needs special attention. Fury thinks that we're the best match for Michelangelo here. The thing is, I was thinking about calling him Mikey, because Michelangelo's like 5 syllables long, so I wanted to give him a nickname. That's cute, Clint. Mikey. I like it, Nat said, tickling Mikey lightly. He squirmed, trying in vain to get free from Romanov's handling, but she wasn't through with him. After a moment, she stopped, and heard watching the argument. Oye, Sammy, Leo, Mikey called, rubbing his eyes hardly. Honey, who's Leo? Clint asked, but the child was already asleep. Good night, Clint, she called, as he turned to his own bed. Night, Nat. See you tomorrow, he responded, sounding troubled, even to him, as to who Leo could be. Secret base, in New York City. Bishop flopped the file into Karai's hand, as he waited for her to deliver it to the Swearer. I think you'll find relevant information included in that file, he said, using a monotone in his voice. The armored man on the throne read slightly, before handing it back to Karai. Good work, Bishop. And you don't know where the turtles are, Aruku Saki said, deep voice growling. Bishop adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat before answering. No, Saki, but they can't survive long without attention anyway, he said, shrugging casually. Bishop! Saki barked, standing, and seemed to think about it. You've raised a valid point. Now continue monitoring for any signs of my enemies, of more of those 4 pathetic turtle creatures. And he signed Hamato clan rising again, and report to me. Do not fail me, Bishop. Bishop dipped his head slightly, before walking out of the room. And I think I'll stop there for right now, because that seems like a good place to stop, and does seem like a good place to give you guys a good feel for where this fic's going. So, let's talk about this fic. Well, first off, I do want to complain a little bit about the grammar issues, of which there were several. Several times I felt like the paragraphs could have been split up, corrected, or at least some bits of the dialogue could have been changed so that way I could know who the frack was talking. I know I slipped up a few times earlier, but that was because I genuinely got confused as to who was talking from person to person. Like, they needed something more, something that actually illustrated whose voices was what. This was especially erroneous when it came to Coulson, who changed genders mid-paragraph. Don't know how that happened. But that type of thing can be changed by doing some backtracking and editing. I do recommend a preview for this. The premise overall, for me, is actually pretty interesting. As we all know, there's a good... An alternate story is always fun to read. And this does sound like a good Marvel what if, say, Disney were to ever own the rights to the Turtles. Which, by the way, I think they would probably do better with it, because they wouldn't give it to they wouldn't give the movie license to be produced by Michael F. Bay. I digress. What if the Avengers raised the Turtles? And what would they be like? And the idea that Splinter does this to protect his sons from Shredder also adds to the mystery, like, how does Shredder know much about them? How long has Shredder been hunting them? How did Shredder track them this soon? And also, was this the best way for us, Splinter? My only objection to that part of the idea is that Splinter died too soon. Darn it, you had an opportunity for feels and you took it from me! And then we get to the split up. And I like it. Each member makes sense to me. Each member of the brothers are split up to an Avenger that makes a decent amount of sense for each. Of course, Captain America with Leonardo, I don't think I need to say why, now do I? And Donatello with Tony feels like it's a duh moment. Scientist is scientist. Raphael to Bruce because, well, look like you, little turtle. You're a nice turtle. Yeah, I like you too. Too, you big green ape. Oh, yeah, that would be hilarious. Anyway, Mikey and Natasha. Well, at first I thought Mikey was going to wind up with Coulson, but seeing Mikey with Natasha and Clint is actually appealing to me. As we get the two who are one who's quite classy and the other one who is, well, a jokester and very arrogant. I just have to laugh now, knowing what I know about Corey, especially considering one of the spoilers I've heard about Avengers: Age of Ultron. this Sometimes it's fun reading a fanfic that's made before a sequel comes out, because then you get a little bit of continuity that you just have to laugh and laugh. But that's perfectly okay. We didn't know that about Clint until recently, and that's one of the many reasons why I can't wait to watch the movie. When it also comes down to it, I also enjoyed how Nick was on top of everything. Nick was good in character, and so was Tony. Cap, I was kind of would have said more to saying raising a child to be a warrior. What? Because that sounds something like Steve would do. Because, well, he would be questioning this type of thing. Like, why raise him into a warrior? Tony's perfectly okay. I'm still trying to question a little bit of Natasha, but I guess that works too.
Maybe if Venus was actually a member of the group.
You do not mention Venus de Milo on this studio ever again. And I also got one other complaint here. And unfortunately, it ties to part of the setup. Is that one of Flair's instructions, and one of the things that the Avengers has been told to do is keep the brothers separate. Don't let the brothers know about each other's existence. Now, I can understand why Flair might want to do that, so that way Shredhead won't track them down, and I can also understand how Shredder could work like that, use that information, and I can also understand that it would also help them slowly start to learn stuff by their own and become their own individuals. There's this one teeny problem with this. How are the Avengers going to keep up that end of the bargain? I mean, apparently Nick does spill the beans to the Avengers and tells them, I did read ahead, Nick does spill the beans to the Avengers and tells them, look, old friend, Hamato Yoshi, these are his 4 kids. Take care of them. Keep them separate. My question is, how? How's that going to work? Because there's a good chance that one of the kids might crawl onto the Quinjet and meet up with the others. Or Tony, being Tony, could probably hear that plan and go, nope, it's a stupid plan. Donatello, this is your brother Leo. Please say hi. This is your brother Raph, and this is your brother Mike. Please meet you. Because let's face it, Tony's not the type of guy that just blindly follow orders like that. And I think he would probably get the Turtles back together. So, how was Nick thinking that the Avengers would actually keep this end of the bargain? Now, if they were the Ultimates, they would probably do that. But we all know the Ultimates. They blindly follow orders and would cause the apocalypse if they were ordered to. No, I don't like the Ultimates. But I digress with this one. Another problem I have with this fic in general is that the reasons why each brother was given to them was the fact that their personalities were already set in stone. Now, while we already know their issues in their personalities.
For instance,
Well, I did bring. Well, just to clarify this, I did bring in a local expert, by which I mean my mother, who is a nurse. So, Mom, please tell the audience carefully, into the mic here, just if newborns could actually start showing out their personalities.
yes, they can. In fact, when Greg was a little newborn, he was a sleepy little fella, kind of shy and quiet. Andy was always alert, his little eyes open, watching everything. He had to look and watch the world go by. And even now, Greg is kind of quiet, and he's a little he's laid back and chilled a lot, while Andy's more outgoing.
I would just like to say to the audience out there that she is wrong. I am not shy and quiet. But anyway, while I'm okay with that, that part of it does sound like you were already using the personalities that we knew the Turtles having as today. You already gave them their modern day personalities while they were paired up with each one. Personally, I would have preferred it if the Turtles were given to each of their caretakers as newborns or newly hatched, just as their mutations came in, and then their personalities came in. So that way we could actually see more of an effect that each of the Avengers would have on each member. As it is, it does sort of feel like it's just the Avengers being paired off with each prospective turtle, as the turtle is already at who they are. Their personalities already infused. This does take a little bit away from seeing how each member would affect their growth cycle. But that's just me. Everything else about this fic is still pretty well done. The story is well crafted, and it's all really well made and well executed. I quite enjoy this story. It's just not completely great, but with a little time, effort, and a lot of love, this fic could be something truly spectacular. And who knows, maybe later on in the chapters it gets pretty dang good. I recommend go ahead and check it out and finish reading the rest of it. Well, that's one down, several more to go. I'll see you next time. By which I mean, after the Avengers. Okay, guys, suit up and let's get ready to roll out!